All right, so if you find yourself in a situation where you're doing maybe a master shot or extreme wide shot or any sort of camera movement that's going to hinder your ability to record audio. In other words, you're too far away from your subjects or there's too much movement of the camera and it's just not going to work. You will need that separate audio recording device. If that separate audio recording device is able to be recording into the camera, then you're fine. But if not, if it's completely self-contained, if it's a cell phone, if it is an MP3 recorder, if it's even a wireless lab going into something separate, then you need to sync audio in post-production, because you'll have your video based on your camera recordings, and you'll have a separate bunch of files that are just the audio. All right? The easiest way to do it is, first of all, always record into your camera. Try your best to always have all your audio tracks being recorded into your camera. But in the event you cannot do that, this is how we sync audio. You need what's called a slate, and it could also be called a slapper. But basically, all you do on here is you write down, the various details, the production name, the scene, the take. You don't need the roll anymore. That used to be, what kind of, film roll you were on. Now it's simply SD card. You can call it A. You can label your SD card A. Director camera, date. The date is truthfully very, very important if you end up with many different shots going on. Okay, so the date and scene and take. That's the key ingredient. All right. If you have multiple productions going on, then by all means, definitely label your production as well. So once you have your slate, you've got your camera which needs to be able to view this. All right, it needs to be able to view it in its entirety, so that when I actually come down to slap this thing, so you'll see here, this is a closing of the teeth, and that sound are the actual teeth closing. So the way to sync audio is to take this frame here, the first frame that is closed for the slate, and match it with your separate audio track. You can do this by looking at the audio track and looking to see where you see a peak. All right, I see a peak down here. So the green, remember, is my audio, and this blue is my video. Now, even if you recorded audio on a separate device, most cameras will still give you an in-camera audio. So there still might be a bit of a guide that you can use in terms of how to match these up. So the first thing I would do is I would take these and just visually try to match up the spike here I see with the spike here. Once I get it visually close, I'm now going to turn this down, and I'm going to watch to see where does that close and open actually happen. So it's open here, and it's closed here. Let's zoom in on our audio and see how much difference we have to make up. We have this much space here. All I'm going to do is simply drag it over so that the very first portion of the frame that has a closed slate now matches with that pop. All right, so it's open here, and we've got no audio at this portion. All right, so open slate, no audio right here. This is one frame. All right, so let's move forward one frame. Now we have a closed slate, and we actually have that pop, which is pretty consistent with the sound of a slate closing. Let's turn it up and see if it actually matches up with our video. All right, so as you can see, we have synced audio now. So now we actually took a separately recorded audio track, this one here, and we've matched it with the video track recorded elsewhere. So that is one way you can sync audio. As I've mentioned, more advanced slates, they have a digital timecode burn-in, so you would actually walk up with your audio device and everything would be synced through this. So in post-production, you bring everything in, and in some programs it'll automatically sync your audio and your video for you. Even in those cases, you can end up with an off-sync. So there might be one or two frames that is not quite lined up. So it's always good to know how to do this, because this is spot on. The second that closes, we are now locked it off. All right. So the job of the junior editor is actually to take audio and sync it. So it's not the sound person's job. So the editor, so the very first person to touch the audio in post-production is the junior editor. They'll sync all the audio up, and that way the editor the next day will have everything nicely ready to go for them. They still will have this guide track, so the actual audio that's existing on the camera track they'll still have, but it's more just to line up very basic type of audio. So this would be consistent with a shotgun mic, meaning it's very specific the direction it faces. You may also have a track underneath for a lav. You may have 3 different tracks for 3 different lavs, 1 for each character, but you would always have your major boom as well. So your boom and your subsequent lavs. You'll look at future points ways of volume graphing. So for example, if we were to use this track here, I might zoom right in and not like the way it's a letter or word sounds up here. So I might come in here and cut, so that's 1 frame. So I might come in here and cut, and then I might turn this one portion down, and I might have a track underneath where it goes up. So I would literally be flicking between a boom, a lav, and then back to the boom, or etc. In most cases, you're going to have a stereo combination of both, a little bit of the lav and a little bit of the boom. All right, so that's how you sync audio. That's who's going to take it afterwards in post-production, reassemble it, and a very brief intro into how you would then volume graph or use different amounts of audio from different tracks once you're ready to go.